Am I the a-hole boyfriend peed the bed and is mad at me for my response? My boyfriend M27 and IF23 just moved into a new house and bought a new mattress. Last night, I woke up to a wet feeling under my arm and hand. My boyfriend was already up and in the bathroom. When he came back, I asked him if he spilled something in the bed or knew why it was wet. He told me that he thinks he peed the bed. I asked him again and said, "Wait, are you serious?" And he said, "I think I peed in my dream and peed in real life." We are both half awake at this point, and I'm just surprised that he actually did wet the bed. I asked him to go grab stuff to clean it up, and he told me that it was fine. I asked him what he meant by that, and he grabbed a towel, laid it on the wet spot, and got back into bed to go to sleep. I pulled the covers off of him and told him that he needs to go grab stuff to clean it up because I don't want it to get stained, and it's a new mattress, and we don't have a mattress cover for it yet. He told me that it was fine and I'm overreacting. That statement naturally pissed me off, and I told him I'm not going to sleep in his piss, and that's not fair to me. He told me he'd clean it in the morning and that it's not a big deal and doesn't warrant the reaction I have. That was not the solution I wanted, so I took all the sheets off the bed and threw them at him and told him to sleep on the couch. It was very irritating hearing him tell me that I'm overreacting because I asked him to clean up his pee in the bed we both slept in. He then knocked on the door 10 minutes later asking for a new blanket because the one I gave him smelled like pee. So, am I the a-hole for overreacting to my boyfriend not cleaning up the pee in the bed right away? Not the a-hole and get the pee remover used for dogs because soap and water won't do the trick. I've actually peed in my dream and peed in real life too. I woke up from it and I immediately cleaned it. So no, you didn't overreacting. Update. Thank you guys for the quick replies. This was my first post on Reddit and don't use it very much, but after he left for work today, I really couldn't get the situation off of my mind. I thought I'd see what y'all had to say. I'll address a few comments from the first post. First off, I wish it was fake, but I really did wake up yesterday to piss in the bed and ended up arguing with my BF. My BF and I have only lived together in small stints here and there before, but this is the first time we have our own house, just us. No, he doesn't have a drug or alcohol problem, diabetes, take meds, and wasn't drinking that night. He just worked an overnight shift the previous night and he was pretty tired. He's never done this before since we've been together, so that's why I didn't believe him at first. And we don't have a lot of money right now, so we got a mattress from Walmart for $300 for those of you bashing that detail, LOL. We both ended up cleaning the pee after I threw the sheets and blankets at him, and I took the bed because our couch isn't big and I really couldn't be bothered to move to the couch when I felt like I did nothing wrong. I was tired and wasn't thinking that part through entirely. Also, he is not a horrible abusive BF, have a fetish, etc. Like some of the comments have said. And I didn't throw him out of the house. He was truly half awake and was just not responsive the way he needed to be after peeing in our bed. Anyways, he got back from work today with flowers and my favorite ice cream. He told me he was thinking about what happened last night all day and that he was sorry. He apologized for dismissing me and that he was disrespectful. I told him that the only issue I had with the situation was him telling me I was overreacting for me wanting him to clean up the peed ATM. That wasn't fair to me and expect me to be okay sleeping in his pee. Let me be clear, I understand accidents happen, but to sit there and tell me my response to needing it clean ASAP is unwarranted is insane. I appreciated the gesture and I did read what you guys said. He doesn't have any underlying trauma or alcoholic issues, he just peed the bed by accident. I wasn't shaming him for peeing the bed, I was mad at his response. I'm trying to be understanding that he was tired and wanted to go back to bed. But at the same time, this affects both of us. I just needed him to be responsible and acknowledge that what I said was valid and he needs to grow up. He did order a mattress cover that will be here tomorrow. So until that's on the mattress, I don't want him in the bed with me. I think making him sleep with those sheets and blankets did jolt him awake to realizing the gravity of the situation. I'm still a bit hurt from how he handled the situation selfishly and was inconsiderate. But he seems pretty remorseful, so we'll see how we both feel later. That's it for now. Thank you guys for your advice. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to quit my job if my dad continues what he's doing? For some background, I 16F have lived with my dad 64M for about a year now. My parents are divorced and I am not close with my mother. I'm going into my senior year. I'm graduating a year early and start school again in a week or so. Last year in November, I began working at a restaurant as a hostess to save up for a car. I take the bus to and from school as well as to work, and a car would save me a lot of time. I make minimum wage and I pull in a little over $1,000 a month after taxes. I put about 60 to 70% of that into savings and spend the rest on various things like going out with friends or Funko Pops. In February of this year, my dad told me since I was making so much money, I needed to start contributing to the household. At first, this was fine. He asked that I pay for my phone bill and utilities. We rent from a family member, so utilities are discounted, and my phone bill isn't too expensive either. Both things are about $200. With this, I was saving less, so I still had spending money, but still had set aside $400 to $500 every month for the car. In July, he decided I needed to pay a portion of the rent. I tried to argue with him on that, but he threatened to close my account, which he can do because he opened it for me. I had to start giving him $500 on top of the $200 a month, totaling $700 a month. With the $300 I had left, I saved $200 for the car and kept $100. I was pretty fed up at this point, but it gets worse. I have some cash in a jar in my room, in case I go do something that you can't use a card for. I had about $300 in the jar from several months. Last week, I came home from work and the jar is empty. When I asked my dad, he said that since I'm his daughter, he's entitled to the money I make. I was furious. I told him he had to give it back, but he had already spent it on some BS Amazon purchases. Lucky me. He told me he wanted $100 extra a month because I shouldn't have that much money just for me. So after all this, I'm only pulling in $200 a month. That's if I don't save any. Last night, I told my dad I was going to give my 2 weeks notice. I work hard and I'm exhausted. It isn't worth the few $100s I get. He was absolutely furious and said that I owe it to him to contribute to the household. I go to work in a few hours and I'm planning on letting them know I won't be continuing. So, am I the a-hole? TLDR, my dad takes the majority of my salary for himself and working is no longer worth it, so I'm quitting my job. I'm not sure where you live, but your parents are legally required to provide food and shelter to you while you are a minor. These things are not your responsibility if he is your guardian, and he is not allowed to exploit you like this. Do you have other relatives you can live with? This is abuse, plain and simple. Speak to your school social worker or your family you rent the house from. They may be able to help you get away from this situation. Not sure why your dad can't take on a second job if things are tight. I worked multiple jobs to keep a roof over my children's heads. He chose to have you. You didn't choose to be born. OP replies, things aren't tight. That's what I don't get. He makes 6 figures at a job he's been at for 20 plus years. I don't even know what he could possibly be doing with my money other than to support his alcoholism. Next story. Am I the a-hole for messaging the husband of my husband's AP? I found out my husband of nearly 20 years is cheating for the second time. I know, fool me once and all that, but needless to say, my blood will not stop boiling. We are getting divorced. I just had this hunch that the AP was also married. Something about my husband's comments about her didn't add up. Since he was too checked out to even bother with a burner phone, it took about 5 minutes with the phone bill and 10 minutes of Googling to find an email address for her husband. I'm not on FB, so probably would have been faster if I was. I sent him an email and within 5 minutes my husband was texting me asking what I had done, saying I destroyed a family today. All I can say is I wish someone would have told me the first time he cheated so I wouldn't have hung out with the woman and been friendly. This guy is in a similar situation as he and my husband know each other. I actually sent the email from a burner email address and didn't out my husband in case I was wrong somehow, but it's clear to me based on my husband's comments that the AP named him. The AP swears she's been trying to end things with her husband and he won't listen. Maybe that's true, but it's also possible she's totally playing my husband and hasn't said anything to hers. AP's husband wants to talk to me and I'll probably call him. So am I the a-hole for telling my husband's AP's husband about the affair? Did I destroy a family? Should I have just kept my mouth shut? Should I not speak to him? My boiling blood may be clouding my judgment. Edited to add. I honestly can't believe how many people have taken the time to read this. Thank you all for your replies. I really appreciate the laughs, thoughtful insights, and personal stories people shared. She destroyed her own family. Your garbage husband blaming you just shows how worthless he is. Funny how your craphead husband didn't give a crap about your family. The only reason he's concerned about hers is because he's not going to keep getting laid now. He can dry hump a cactus into the sunset. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ending my marriage because I didn't want to force my kids to live with my wife's oldest daughter again? My wife and I, both 30s, are parents to 5 kids between us. I have 2 kids, 15 and 13, with my late wife, and my wife has 3, a 16-year-old daughter with her ex-boyfriend, and 2 more kids, 10 and 7, with her late husband. We've been married for 4 years, and we were together for 2 years prior. When we met, she shared custody of her oldest daughter with her ex, and after we had been married a little while, some problems started to be brought to the surface. Family members suspected she was stealing from them while there and talked about her having an attitude. Then I noticed money was missing a couple of times, and we never had proof of who it was. But my wife's ex would mention something new their daughter had bought because she was such a good saver, which was not what we had experienced at all. She was someone who spent what she got the second she got it, unless someone put a stop to it. And her dad was never someone who would do this. He was always the opposite from what I can tell. And then she started being more blatant about disrespect and stealing, and a little over a year after we were married, her dad petitioned the courts to move out of state for work and take her with him. My wife fought against it, but her oldest wanted to go, and the judge weighed that in their decision and allowed her ex to take their daughter, but ordered he be responsible for paying for every visit to us. It was during her visits that she got worse about stealing. She'd wait until she was leaving and took things that were small enough that wouldn't be missed immediately. One included my 15-year-old's Nintendo Switch, or at least some parts off the Switch that she had mentioned were broken on her own Switch at her dad's house. But other things were missing after she'd leave too. My wife replaced the stuff her oldest, but after the Switch, which wasn't too long ago, I told my wife we needed to figure something out because I didn't want my kids dealing with that and that I had a duty to think of them first. While we were talking it out, her daughter asked if she could come live with us for good during her summer visit. My ex immediately said yes, and she was excited. I was not. She said we could nip it in the bud now. Other families said it wouldn't be that easy because there were suspicions since she was 7 and she was getting worse. I agreed with them, but I told my wife I understood she had a duty to her daughter like I had my kids. She said it wouldn't be so bad and we'd figure it out. I told her I didn't believe that to be possible, and I said I would move out with my kids. She asked me to at least talk to my kids first and see if they'd mind. But we both knew their stance already. My son said after the Switch that he didn't want to have to see her again. My wife told me we needed to work this out because her younger 2 couldn't lose me. I said I felt awful about that, but I wasn't going to make my kids live with her older daughter. My wife said I had the same duty to all 5, and if I have such a problem with her daughter's behavior, I should stay and help fix it instead of running. I told her I was not willing to lose my kids over her oldest and that I would stay in the lives of the younger 2 if that's what they wanted, and she would allow, but it was clear we could not make this work. My kids were so relieved when we moved out, so I knew I made the right choice. They admitted they expected her to steal all kinds of stuff from them if we stayed. I filed for divorce a couple of weeks after the kids, and I moved out. My wife has tried and failed to get me back. Her oldest lives there now, and she said we never really tried to work something out. I told her there was nothing to work out when I was clear about what I would not do. She told me the youngest 2 are the biggest sufferers because both dads chose to leave them, and how is she supposed to explain to them that their second dad put his bio kids before them? She has tried to convince me several times over that I should call off the divorce and make a go of being a family again. But I refuse. Does that make me ta? Not the a-hole she's trying to guilt-trip you for being a good dad to your children when she failed as a mother. Take care of your children, they are lucky to have you. Opie replies, the guilt trip bothered me. I love the kids, but they have her. My kids only have me, and I could not sacrifice them to be there for my stepkids. Not the a-hole. It's funny how you have an obligation to all 5 kids, but she doesn't have that obligation. She was fine with letting the younger kids suffer to accommodate the oldest. It's up to her to protect the children. Not only her own kids, but all kids. She's failing and is now trying to guilt trip you because she can't deal with her daughter's behavior herself. The girl will take over the house, probably by guilt tripping and manipulate her mom, your ex. You did very well in getting your children and yourself away from this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for vetoing my wife's car purchase in the dealership and walking her out of there without looking at the car she picked out? So my 29M wife 27F is a stay-at-home mother-mom by her choice until the kids are old enough to go to school. Her older Honda SUV recently bit the dust when it needed some major repairs that totaled more than the value of her car. This was right at the beginning of the work week for me, so I unfortunately didn't have the time to sit with her and look at cars immediately. I told her she can do some research first or she can hold off until my days off and we could do some research together. I gave her a maximum budget of $20,000, but it was flexible if she found something she really liked. In the meantime, I lent her my car Mustang Mach-E and took public transit/Uber to work during the week. On one of my half days, I get a call from my wife saying that I need to come to a dealership after work and look at a new car she wants. I get a sinking feeling knowing she went to a dealership without me knowing how predatory they can be, so I ask her for the address. It's a Lexus dealer. I ask her who recommended it, and she said that one of her friends has a boyfriend who works there and that they would work out a nice deal for her. That friend happens to drive a Lexus and managed to get my wife in love with her car. I get off work and drove over to the dealership. On the phone with my wife, I locate her and this car sales professional. I ask if she's seen and driven the car. She says yes, she likes it. I ask the salesman, how much is it out the door? He says, well, your wife and I were discussing some options. How much do you have down? I said, honey, we're not buying a car today, let's go. She asks why. I say because he can't give us a straight answer about how much the car costs. He says, hold on, and prints out the sheet. The used 2020 Lexus GX 460 she was looking at was an eye-watering $56,000 after taxes, fees, and add-ins. I said, no, honey, that's not what we agreed on. She asked if I could at least look at the car before I left, but I said no. The salesman tried to butter me up and sell me on the car and say they could work on the price, but I just took the keys from my wife and left. Eventually, I was able to sit her down and show her some much more affordable options that wouldn't require us financing the car and going back into debt. She ended up purchasing a nice used Honda Pilot Touring that she ended up liking. That car, all told purchase price, and then some overdue maintenance items came out to about $21,000. This incident in the grand scheme of marriage was a blip. But she did say I seemed cold and unreceptive to what she wanted at the dealership. But I defended myself by saying that the sales strategy in a dealership sometimes is to make one spouse love the car and make that spouse feel like the salesperson is on their side so that they might purchase a car from them even if it's not a good decision for the couple. Am I the a-hole for how I handled the dealership situation? Her friend is also a little upset I treated her boyfriend rudely at the dealership. But from my perspective, that wasn't my wife's friend's partner. That was a car salesman trying to put us in $800 a month worth of debt for the next 5 years. X-Car Sales here. You are 1000% right, LOL. Every tactic you described it exactly what they do, LOL, good work. Not the a-hole. In what world did she think you'd be okay with a car that was $36K over what you told her you guys could comfortably spend? I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel our posts.